welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, July 22nd, 2019. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. All Vincentians are expected to benefit from this year's 40th Independence celebrations directly or indirectly. A program of activities for this celebration, dubbed Renewal at 40, was launched on Saturday evening at the SVG Community College. As we hear in this report by Larissa Pugsley-Kidd, the Renewal at 40 program includes some massive undertakings, including the cleanup of capital Kingstown.
With the launch of the Renewal at 40 program to mark this country's 40th anniversary of independence, a fresh start is being forged to make SVG a better place. To aid in this fresh start and renewal, the government plans to roll out a number of initiatives in all sectors, which, according to Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, will be of benefit to all Vincentians, including the elderly.
Every flower must bloom for Renewal at 40. Sports, culture, business, the churches, education, production. The period now to the 26th of October 2020, we will focus on women and children and the elderly and the indigent, the sick and the marginalized, the youths, the working people, the entrepreneurs of all sizes, the fisher folk and the farmers.
$6.5 million repairs to all schools in SVG is part of the Renewal at 40 program. A further $5 million for footpaths in villages will also be carried out, and the cleanup of capital Kingstown will be done with the financial complex getting a facelift. PM Gonsalves hopes that this will encourage other businesses in the capital to get into the independence celebration mood.
How can businesses make so much money and don't paint their buildings? What is the matter? Why when independence they can't put up some flags, some buntings? Huh? And we have to set an example before this independence of painting the finance complex and to fix up the grounds and the lighting in a manner which would inspire.
While reflecting on SVG's 40 years of independence, Prime Minister Gonsalves said the country has done well despite the many challenges, while recognizing his predecessors, former Prime Minister the late Milton Cato and Sir James Mitchell, for their contributions made to SVG's early development as an independent nation. The PM also sees the Renewal at 40 as a reclamation of independence, noting that persons should reflect either individually or collectively on their achievements and should also renew themselves. Similar sentiments were shared by a Member of Parliament for East St. George and the Minister of Finance, Camilo Gonsalves.
This Renewal at 40 recognizes the reacquisition of our independence from that brief blip in our history when we were controlled by the British. And it recognizes the wonderful achievements that we have accomplished, the goals we have set, the goals we have met, the goals we have yet to, the mountains we have yet to climb.
Coordinator of the Renewal at 40 program, Elvis Charles, said traditional games and culture will also be revived as part of the celebration activities.
During the month of August, there will be traditional games in various communities to remind us from whence we came. How many of us can remember playing morale, hopscotch, dodge, skipping rope? All these activities would be executed in various communities to remind us, to remind the children that these were the games that excited us, the older folks.
There will also be Best Village and Best Garden competitions, as well as arts and graphics competition in schools. In addition, independence lectures and conferences will be held. A Renewal at 40 jingle competition was also launched on Saturday and was performed by Orandi Bumani Charles.
Renewal at 40 and continue building.
Reporting for SVG-TV News, Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
Let's all strive together.
Meanwhile, SVG will have its first female Governor General as of August 1st, 2019. This was announced by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves at Saturday's Renewal at 40 program. He said Deputy Governor General Susan Duggan will assume the post as the current Governor General, Sir Frederick Ballantyne, has decided to resign due to health reasons.
I wrote Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, our head of state, to indicate to her that Sir Frederick Nathaniel Ballantyne is not in the best of health and has indicated his desire to demit office on the 31st of July, and has so written. And as of the 1st, Her Excellency Susan Duggan would be our new Governor General.
Prime Minister Gonsalves noted that Queen Elizabeth II has since accepted Duggan as SVG's next Governor General, and measures are being put in place for a smooth transition.
Days ago, the Buckingham Palace, informed our government that Her Majesty has approved the recommendation of her Prime Minister in this regard, and the instrument of Her Excellency's appointment is on its way to us.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has completed his term as chairman of the OECS Authority. A release from the OECS Communications Unit said PM Gonsalves' tenure was completed with major advancements to OECS regional integration. The release said a high point of Prime Minister Gonsalves' tenure was in the area of membership with the accession of Guadeloupe to the OECS in March 2019. It said plans for the French territory of Saint Martin to join the organization are still underway. However, the country remains on observer status until it has recovered sufficiently from the damage incurred by Hurricane Irma. The release further noted that several climate change resilience and sustainable development projects were pursued under Chairman Gonsalves' leadership, such as an MOU signed between the OECS and the non-profit association Solar Head of State, the SHOS, which aims to catalyze renewable energy in the region by developing and implementing a regional strategy to generate public savings through the installation of solar photovoltaic power systems on key government buildings in OECS member states. Other key areas of focus for which strides were made under Prime Minister Gonsalves' chairmanship were improved disaster preparedness and response, international advocacy and cooperation, improved air travel in the Eastern Caribbean, innovation in agriculture and reduction of the food import bills, strengthened educational initiatives, improvement and innovation in healthcare, and preservation of marine resources. Prime Minister Gonsalves assumed the chairmanship of the OECS in June 2018. He hands over the chairmanship to Prime Minister Gaston Brong of Antigua and Barbuda, who will serve for 1 year. The proper use of technology can lead to the positive growth and development of society. To this end, principals from around the region are meeting here to examine how to use this important tool and look at other areas of development in the education system. This is being done at the 27th Annual Conference of the Caribbean Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, which opened today at the SVG Community College. The conference is being held under the theme, Technology-Infused Education in the 21st Century Caribbean. Delivering the opening remarks was President of the Caribbean Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, Curtis Graves. He said technology brings with it new innovations which can benefit the education of students and facilitate the creation of innovative minds. Using a quote from an Apple executive, Graves encouraged the principals to embrace the use of technology to help create creative thinkers.
The one who sees things differently. They are not bound of rules. They have not respected the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or validate them. About the only thing you can do is to ignore them. Because they are changing things. They push the human race forward, and while some may say that they are the crazy ones, they are the geniuses. We see geniuses. People who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the only ones who can do so. End of quote. Whoa. Imagine if we can pull these geniuses out of our students. What a region, what a country, what a world it will be to reckon with. Fellow principals, as we embark on the journey this week, let us pledge to see how we can become a part of this technology-infused society. I trust that the presenters this week will stir your minds, and the Tech Expo will challenge you to become more adept with the technologies that are available to you today. Even so, as we go through this week on our lovely mainland St. Vincent,
Minister of Education St. Clair Prince said the ministry considers education as a critical tool for social transformation. He said the conference is a timely one, adding that it is crucial to modernize the delivery of education in SVG and across the region. Prince said while there are some challenges relating to the use of technology in the education system, principals can play a role in strengthening the education platform region-wide.
There is much debate concerning our readiness as a region in this particular regard. Collectively, we are faced with the issues of resource deficiencies, pedestrian internet speed and unreliability, agnostic teachers who are unwilling to embrace technology use, and infrastructural constraints. However, these challenges, ladies and gentlemen, must be confronted and overcome. And I'm sure that we have the dedication and the talent in this region to do so. Your role as principals is therefore a vital one. The quality of leadership that you bring to bear on this process will determine, of course, how we go along this particular pathway. The region's people depend on you to continue to strengthen the platform of education on which so much of our welfare of the Caribbean civilization rests. May your conference exceed your expectations and the fruits born be a credit to your good selves. Enjoy the conference. Enjoy St. Vincent and the Grenadines. God bless.
Delivering the feature address, Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gansal said, over the years, the quality of teachers and infrastructure continue to grow as the government continues to examine ways to improve the local education system. He said while there are many important avenues for investment which aid in the development of the country, however, he said education is the most important.
Repairs during the summer holidays and some of the more substantive restorative work we will start towards the end of the year into next year. It's a remarkable story. And remember, I say to you, the returns on the investment for education, the returns are higher than anywhere else. I bet in on the young people and the people of St. Vincent and Grenadines generally. I bet in on them. I'm betting on the teachers. But it's not like doing the lotto, because I show that quality education is what is going to be the answer to socio-economic transformation and development, and to carry forward all the sustainable development goals.
Over the years, many parents and guardians here have questioned the placement of criteria used by the Ministry of Education for students moving on to secondary schools after completing their CPEA examination, with some even going as far as labeling the process as unfair or biased. Discussing the issue on Sunday's Viewpoint program on SVG-TV, Education Officer for Exams Kenley John explained that placements are usually done according to the choices of schools by parents or guardians, which is done in November before the CPEA exam.
The first 500 based on 3 factors, really. First, it will be the performance of the child, and that could be considered as the child input, the input from the child, right? The second is the capacity of the secondary school, right? That also determine how many persons, how many children is placed in any given school. And the third input, of course, will be the choice that we ask when we're doing the registration, right? That is the first 500. The ministry doesn't have any input or influence based on those three factors. It will be the child's performance, it will be the choices from the parents, and of course the capacity of the secondary school. Outside of that, outside of the first 500, the placement is done based on the address, and we try our best to place
the address of
the address of the
child lives.
Right. Yeah. So the closest secondary school, we try our best to place a child to that secondary school.
John said that too often there are problems where parents or guardians complain that their child came in the top 500 at CPEA and was not placed at what they considered as a top school, while others who place less get accepted at these schools. John further explained that the ministry has no control over private schools and these schools have the right to accept whom they choose.
Right? The method of placement there, right? The ministry don't have full control over all of the students that goes to a particular government assisted school. What happens is that if the capacity of the school, let's say 100 students, the school will take, for example, 25 persons, right? And the ministry, you will ask the ministry to place 70, the balance, the 75 students, right? Now, when we do our placement for the 75 students, we base it based on the performance, strictly performance, right? And for the 25 persons, the school will use their own criteria to accept in these students. So you will find that a person who have a certain ranking in terms of the CPA, and another person who is far in terms of the rank, far apart, you'll find them have been, well, not being placed, but attending the same secondary school.
The panel on the Viewpoint program also used the opportunity to discuss ways in which the Ministry of Education can get rid of the stigma against schools in SVG. Former Principal and Senior Education Officer Asfor Stevens said placement problem is not only an issue in SVG but throughout the region. He said at the end of a person's secondary school education, it's not about the school he or she attended, as each student has to do the same exams for CXC and CSEC.
And I just want to say here that in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I will hope that the concept of top schools would be reduced in terms of the culture, the thinking of people, because we have our students are geared, whether they go to the grammar school or they go to Bethel or they go to Sandy Bay Secondary School or whatever secondary school. All of the students are geared towards a common curriculum. The second thing is that they are being prepared for the same final exams, which is done through the Caribbean Examination Council. And we must bear in mind that our education system is based on merit. If a student performs well, why should that student go to a school that he or she does not want to go to?
Historian and social commentator Dr. Adrian Fraser said that the most high-rated schools in SVG have more experienced teachers than the newly built schools, and think that the students who perform lower at CPEA need those experienced teachers instead.
There has to be a special effort made on behalf of the Ministry of Government with these schools, bearing in mind what I said, the perception which is there, but also bearing in mind too that the weaker students are going to these schools. And I don't have the full detail, but I suspect that the more inexperienced teachers, somebody who just come out of college, would go to these schools. So a special effort, I'm not saying that they're not, but you're dealing with students who are weak. And this is why I've always been a strong believer in remedial education, because you have students who go in who are very weak in things like English and maths and so on, and to put them right into a program where they're working towards CXC is doing a disservice to them. I think there needs to be built into the system some attempt at remedial teaching. But the point is, given the perception which exists that a serious effort has been made, and you mentioned the media and so on, but also whatever efforts have to be made to ensure that the stigma is removed and that they have the kind of resources which would allow them to deal with this situation.
The prison system can facilitate negative socialization, and prison sentences for juveniles should only be used when necessary. So says Project Manager for Crime and Prevention Project at the CARICOM Secretariat, Louis Dodson, as he delivered remarks at the opening ceremony of a one-week workshop designed to build capacity for the justice system and law enforcement officials in relation to case management of juvenile offenders. The workshop is being hosted by the Regional Integration and Diaspora Unit in collaboration with CARICOM Secretariat and brings together stakeholders from law enforcement, the court system, correctional officers, as well as faith-based and community groups. Highlighting a 2012 Caribbean Report on Human Development, Dodson said alternatives to incarceration of youngsters have many benefits and recommends imprisonment only as a last resort.
There's insufficient alternative to incarceration, though they offer a number of potential benefits, namely, A, they often cost less than a conventional prison sentence. B, they help avoid labeling and the stigmatization of imprisonment, thereby reducing the tremendous challenges associated with the reintegration of offenders into society following their release. C, they eliminate the negative socialization processes that occur in prison and that often increase recidivism. And 4, they often bring greater satisfaction to victims. The report points out that any wise correctional strategy will account for the fact that offenders present different levels of risk. For this reason, correctional systems, the report noted, should employ selective incapacitation strategies that assign prison terms only in cases where necessary.
Dodson encouraged the participants to use the workshop for the benefit of the region's juveniles.
It is the hope of the Crime and Violence Prevention and Social Development Project, therefore, that this workshop is an attempt, small as it may be, at addressing the observation of the aforementioned report, that the region's criminological infrastructure is not yet supported by a well-developed knowledge base on effective sanctions and rehabilitation strategies. Participants, I know that the next 5 days will be extremely busy, but we all know that it is all for an absolute cause, or an absolute necessary cause. So once again, welcome, and please accept my best wishes.
Deputy Director of the Diaspora Integration Unit, Redu Maxwell Charles, said juvenile crime is on the rise and measures must be put in place to address these incidents. He said the workshop presents an opportunity for the stakeholders to learn new skills and sharpen the current ones.
We think that we have captured all the stakeholders here at this workshop today as we gave our invitations. As I look down in the audience, I'm seeing probation officers, counselors, police, and other correctional officers, faith-based and community leaders. Juveniles are a sizable percentage of our population, so we must get it right with them. We must get it right. So as I close, let me encourage you to get as many skills here as possible this week. And those of you who are also skillful, get them sharpened. I wish you all the best.
The Electoral Office is engaged in a series of activities to encourage persons with expired ID cards to get registered, that's re-registered for an updated card. On Friday, the Electoral Office hosted an exhibition in the car park next door the Postal Corporation building. Supervisor of Elections Dora James said the activity gave them the opportunity to bring the work of the office closer to the public.
Is that we are re-registering all persons who come to us once their ID cards are expiring in 2019. So if you come, you bring along your birth certificate, a photocopy of that birth certificate, and for women who are married, their marriage certificate, we will re-register you right here. Additionally, we have on display photos of our past supervisors of elections, so you can just check. It's historical information you're receiving, and you can just check. And in addition to that, we have showing live our interview process, what you do when you come to the office, how you're being interviewed, and you would hear some of the responses that we get from the public. Also, we have a digital map showing the constituencies on mainland St. Vincent, so people can come and view and ask their questions.
General elections are due in 2020, and an ID card is a key element of the voting process. James encouraged persons not to wait until it is late to get their ID cards updated.
Well, our launch started on the 15th of April this year, and we intend to go as long as it takes us so that we can have all of our persons who would have expired ID cards this year and the next year re-registered. The persons whose cards would expire in 2020, we will take them on a little later this year and into next year. But we are taking 2019. We find that people are slow in coming forward, but we encourage them to come because we don't want them to rush at the last minute, get confused, find themselves, other people give them information and they are intimidated about their ID card and the expired ID card, because people would use that against them. So we encourage them to touch base with the office, touch base with the registration officers in the constituencies and get re-registered.
Jim said many young persons seem reluctant to register for an ID card, but it is an important document to have, especially for doing business or even travel.
Soon we will be in the other constituencies, and we encourage persons to participate, come out. We look forward to especially young people who have not yet registered and are thinking about getting their ID cards. And a word to the young too. We find that many young persons, when they turn 18, they don't come forward unless their parents urge them to. But when they want a job or they're going to travel, they come and want it in a rush, but it takes time. And so we encourage them, as soon as you turn 18, come and get your card, because if you leave St. Vincent the Grenadines without having a card, when you come back, because it's your first card, you must stay your 6 months, and sometimes that is a problem.
The police here have launched an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death of Alex Bradshaw, a 52-year-old laborer of Fountain, whose unresponsive body was discovered on Sunday night around 9:24 p.m. with a stab wound to his chest at the Corres Car Park at Lower Bay Street, Kingstown. A 55-year-old male is currently in custody, assisting the police with their investigations. A post-mortem examination is expected to be conducted on the body to ascertain the cause of death. The police are soliciting information from anyone who will aid with the arrest and prosecution of the offenders. In this case, persons are asked to contact the Assistant Commissioner in charge of crime at 784-456-1339 or the officer in charge of the Criminal Investigations Department at 784-456-1810. or any police station or officer that they are comfortable with. All information, they say, will be treated with strict confidence. 4 persons remain hospitalized today at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital after an accident on Saturday on the Argyle Public Road involving 2 vehicles, including an omnibus with 17 persons on board. The police say at 3:40 p.m. on Saturday, omnibus HX819, a white Nissan Caravan owned and driven by Ashaki Delamore of South Rivers, and motor vehicle MVT14, that's motor vehicle T14, An orange and blue pickup truck owned by Finishing and Furnishing and Riverman Omri Mayors of Brighton collided on the Argyle Public Road in the vicinity of Stillwater's Resort. Both vehicles were badly damaged. The omnibus was traveling from Kingstown towards Bayabo with 17 passengers, while the truck was exiting the junction at Stillwater's Resort, heading towards Brighton. As a consequence of the collision, the omnibus veered off the road and ran into the perimeter fence of the Argyle International Airport, resulting in some of the passengers, including the driver, sustaining minor and serious injuries, including broken limbs. The driver of the truck also sustained injuries. The injured persons were taken to the Georgetown Hospital, Stubbs Polyclinic, and the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital, respectively, where they received medical attention. The majority of the victims were treated and released while four with broken limbs still remain hospitalized at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. The police are appealing to persons with information that will assist in the investigation of the accident to contact the Bayabo Police Station or the officer in charge of the South Central Division at the telephone numbers 458-0239 or 458-4200 respectively. All information, they say, will be treated confidentially. Meanwhile, the Commissioner of Police is reiterating his appeal to motorists and commuters to always observe the road traffic signs, drive carefully and with due care and attention to other road users on the public thoroughfares of SVG.